Hi, welcome back to All About the Alternative. I'm the Gadget Lady. Today I'm going to look at something a little bit different. It's an alternative in alternative shopping. And today it's something that's widely used by a lot of people. It's called Instacart. And I've had a very interesting experience with it. So if you'll stick with me, I'll be right back. Hi. So recently I've just basically had some extra time on my hands, so I decided I was going to use my time up and use it in a different kind of way, and I was looking for something that I could basically do with my time. And so I looked into what was available out there, and I'm not somebody who sits around too much, so I like getting out and doing things. And something I used to do way back, a long while back, was being a personal shopper. And the way I did personal shopping back then was we didn't really have like, the computer wasn't used the same way. It wasn't, you could place the orders and stuff like that. We'd really turned a corner on that when we hit the pandemic and people had to stay at home. So other people did the shopping for us, and that was great. But what I did back then was I had flyers, catalogs, basic needs that was being looked for, specialty items that were being looked for, and I would go and find them for my client, bring them back to my client, and was paid for by the item that I was purchasing, or items that I was purchasing. So that was how I did it back then, and of course, life being what it is, I took other jobs on, and that got put by the wayside, and so I no longer was doing that. But it was always something that I thought, well, that could be something I could go back to, especially, if I really needed something. But of course, the times changed, and of course, everyone started using online shopping a lot more. And of course, now it's all about going to your online and you pick out your items and have them delivered that way. And in fact, most of the time it's all contactless. You don't even see anybody, and it's all done. Or you can't even speak to anybody either. I'm going to get to that in a moment as well. So yeah, so I obviously I got very busy in my life as well, and I started using Instacart for deliveries too. And so I actually ordered from Instacart in the very beginning times of the pandemic started, and they only had a few stores available at the time. That was very, it was very new in a lot of people's eyes. Nobody saw it. Nobody knew what it was really. I would actually talk to people and go, "Oh, I don't even know what that is." You know, they had no clue. And so so I had placed an order, and as it turned out, that order actually was missing items. And I tried contacting the Instacart, and there was no answer because no one was answering their phones at that time. It was very frustrating. I remember that being very harsh, that you couldn't get in touch with anybody for a problem. And so I let it go. I said, no, I'm not using that service anymore. There was a couple of others I was using out there, and that was fine. But I put Instacart aside. I said, no, I'm not going to do that because it didn't seem to be actually very accurate and helpful. So, and then I looked a little bit further down the road, a couple months later, I guess, or several months later, I looked into it, and I had some items I needed again, and I was placing the order and found out that as I was placing the order, it was actually being done by Instacart. So I gave them a second chance. And this time, again, I was missing an item. I don't get how that even happened, but they were still new in their beginnings, and they missed an item, and I contacted the store again. I called up Instacart, and I finally got through. I actually got through to someone that time, and I actually got reimbursed for what I had purchased. And I told people I really wasn't satisfied with Instacart. I really wasn't happy with it because of these two instances. Didn't really help me. So I I just basically put it aside again. I used other services, and again, the same thing happened again, actually, where I was looking for somewhere else that I was ordering from, and as it turned out again, they were from Instacart. And so I went on to the Instacart website, or the app, and suddenly there was a whole bunch of other stores that now were available to shop from. It wasn't just grocery stores. You could buy from liquor stores. You could buy from the Staples, or from some other stores, any Michael's, craft stores. Anything was available, actually, to get your items that you needed in a hurry. And even the dollar store was available on it. And then I discovered it also had Costco on it. So without having a membership to Costco, you could order from Instacart and still get items from Costco, which was interesting. And I actually did wind up doing an order for that and received it. And this time they did it right. They did the order the way it should have been. And I even gave that person a tip because of, hey, you actually did your job. And that was great. I thought, oh, this is fun. So I actually wound up going and saying, well, let's give them a second chance. And I started putting in orders like every other week or something like that when I needed stuff. And it was really helpful. It really worked out really well. I got a few free orders, actually, as it turned out. As you're using the app, they will give you free deliveries as well. And then I got an offer, because normally it's like $100 or something like that for the year. And then I got an offer to pay $20 for an entire year for the delivery fees to be covered, and you could send to anywhere, and that was perfect. That's exactly what I needed. And just to try to give it another chance, I did that. So of course, every time I needed some groceries, I went onto the app, did all of that. Now there still is a service fee. There still is the tips that you have to give. And apparently, the more tip you give, the more you're supposed to be actually interested. It makes the other delivery people actually more interested in your order. And I have some words on that as well, because when I went on the app, it didn't seem to do that. But get into that in a moment. So I've been using it for about a year that way, under that special deal, and that was great. And then, of course, in very recently, I've come across some time on my hands to sort of go, well, I can do something else with my time, this extra time that I now have, to just make some extra money on the side. And so I signed up to deliver for Instacart myself, because it's something I used to do, something I enjoyed doing way back when. And so it was right up my alley to go, let's deliver for Instacart. And so I went on to the app. Now, of course, it's a separate app. It's called Shopper, that you have to go to do that. And you just basically sign up and follow through all step by step that you have to do. Of course, you have to give all your personal information, and you have to give them pictures of yourself and pictures of your ID, and they have to do a credit check or a verification check of who you are, and a background check on you as well. So they do all of that. I have to commend them for that they do all those checks, and it wasn't very long. It actually was within an hour, I think, of my putting all my information. I was approved, no problem. And they asked me actually twice to put in my picture for some reason. But they did. So that was done, and I gave my personal information. I gave where I wanted payment going to for me as well, which was great. I knew that I was going to get paid from them, so that was good. And then I had to sign up for the payment card, and so I had to give them an address to send the payment card to, which I gave them, and for whatever reason, it says waiting 5 to 12 days. So you're almost waiting 2 weeks of business days to receive your card. Now you could use it online. There is a way to actually activate a online phone app card, but my phone didn't have the app that actually connected to that, and so that was one way that I actually was not able to use it. So I had to wait for the card to come in. So I waited roughly about a week and a half, sort of, and I was checking the mail and nothing was coming in. So I went onto the app again, and it said, if you haven't received the card by this date, which the date had already passed, to have another card sent, or a replacement card, if you will. And so I signed up again and actually put the address again to receive the card at, and they and waited again. So another week and a half went by, actually, and the card still hadn't arrived yet. And I'm thinking, well, why isn't this card showing up? And meanwhile, the app is telling me, you should be working, you should be working, you should be able to get online and do this job. And so I just, I had to make sure the site was turned off, and no access to it for the time until I got the card. And then one day it finally showed up, and of course I'm not going to show you my address, but got an envelope that is a green envelope. It says you're supposed to wait for a green envelope. It's supposed to be a welcome package, and so that's great. I mean, sure, so I finally had that, and they give you a ready to earn pamphlet, and which is attached to it your card. There's no numbers on this front of this card, so I can show it to you. This is what you're waiting for, is a card to use. And what I'm saying here is that I'm telling you some things that nobody tells you about how to get started with Instacart and the hoops you have to run through to do it. So yeah. So now I have the card. I'm activated the card on the line, and it has some numbers on it. It has an expiry date on it, and it even has the PIN number that supposedly is a PIN number, but I discovered later that's sort of weird. But yeah, so you have that, and great idea. But so I said, well, I'm not sure which day I want to start this up, because of course, it was like almost the end of the week, and so I said, well, okay, let's go out and do to test it out and see what it's like. And I got into my car and put the app on and went to go online. Now it shows you some areas, without going online yet, it shows you some areas that are blinking with a red circle. Usually means that's the big focused area. And in my area, it looked like there was a Walmart that was doing it, the Costco one, and of course, like I had said, I don't have a membership with Costco, although I'm looking at getting one, because that might be very lucrative to doing this with. So you'd have to have a membership with Costco, because there's a lot of orders that are basically in Costco. So I saw that the Walmart though was blinking red. Obviously there's supposed to be a lot of orders in this area. And so I said, okay, I'm going to drive to that area, which was about 10 minutes away from where I lived. So I drove to this Walmart and got into the parking lot, turned on the app, go online part of it, and so far it showed nothing. And actually, the red that was there before seemed to be gone, and it was in a different area now at this point. And so I left it on. There was another place that was close by, it suggested, at another address close by to this Walmart. And the several orders actually were even available for this store. I looked all over for this store. I'd never heard of it before. And I'm not going to say, because I had never heard of this store. And so obviously it's not something I'm used to, so I had no clue where to even find this store, what to look for, nothing. And I put it into my GPS even to say, where is this address? And nothing. It gave me a direction, told me to go in an opposite direction, I found out later, of where this address actually was, which didn't make any sense. And so I had no clue where that was. I came back to the Walmart, and there was finally an order blinking there or came in there to do. So I went in and I clicked on the app to say, okay, I'm going to do that order, and that's fine. And so it said go shopping, and so I got a shopping cart, went into the store, and did the shopping. And so I went to look for the items this person wanted. There was a couple of items that I had to do replacements on, and one that I don't think was even really what the person actually wanted, to be honest. I'm going to be honest on that. I believe it was a similar item, but it wasn't the exact same one that they wanted. Anyway, so they was contacted and said, yep, no problem, that's what I want. And so we make the replacements and stuff, and so I went around and I found all the items. One thing I do when I'm shopping, it's something that has been always my practice of shopping. I'm a person who gets in to shop and get out, and that's probably one of my biggest helpful hints to being a personal shopper is know your store. Hopefully you know your store. Even if you don't know your store, you have a list or you have somebody else's list, and you get into the store, go to those aisles, get the thing you want, and get out. Personally, for myself, obviously if I'm doing it for somebody else, I'm probably checking the item a little bit more cautiously for dates and all that stuff, because of course that's important to that person, to the other person. For me, it was more like, I'm getting into a store, grabbing the item that I need, and I'm using it in the next week or maybe the next 2 weeks or so anyway. So I'm not looking for it to be, and usually even right away I'm using an item, so I'm not worried about the date on it. So so I get in, get out, and check out and get home or get to wherever I'm going to, and so it's probably one of my best traits to doing this job. Because I'm not going to stand around and look at everything. I'm not going to actually window shop while I'm inside the store. You choose a day that you're going to do some window shopping, and that's maybe when you're going to do that. Or if you are looking to do some comparison shopping, that's when you do that. But for this case, you don't do that. So so you get in, all that to say, you get in, and you do all of the things. You check off each of the, as you find an item, you actually scan the barcode of the item. Nobody tells you that part either. You scan the barcode to show that that is actually the item that the person is looking for, which is good. And so if it is the wrong item, it will tell you that it's the wrong item, and go back and get the right item that they want. And then once you've picked all of the items and you've gotten approval for all of your replacements, you go to your checkout. And it's suggested, though, that you go to the checkout that is your, self-checkout. One of the things, pet peeves of things that I don't really like doing is doing a self-checkout. I figure the other person should be doing, worker in the store should be doing the checkout, but, whatever, it's fine. So I did go to the self-checkout, thinking, okay, I'm doing really well with this. I even had a bag already, so I didn't even have to charge the person for a bag. So I had fresh bags that I had for Walmart, and so I used one of those, and I put everything into the bag in there, and as I'm doing the checkout and that. So that was really good. And then we got to the payment part. The thing nobody tells you, and there is nothing. I've looked everywhere. I've looked all over. Every piece of documentation I have, every part of the app does not tell you need a PIN code for this thing. Guess what? It's a universal PIN code. Everybody gets the same PIN code, but nobody tells you that. I'm not going to put it here because, but if you need the PIN code, contact me. I'll probably be able to give it to you. It's a universal PIN code apparently. So if you lose the card or something happens, someone can actually access, if there's money on the card from a shopper, you can, so I think that's a flawed system as well. I think they should have given me a PIN code in the beginning to start with, but maybe that was on the original first packet. I'll give them that. Maybe that was the case, but in this case, I did not receive that, didn't know about it. And I actually had the grace of somebody else in the store doing Instacart as well at the same time, gave me that code number, because I had no clue what it was. So, yeah. Okay, now, having done that, I got all the items. So, no worries there. I got all the items, everything got done, and I was checking out. And so then I got into my car, I got all the stuff into the car, and it doesn't give you the address for the person who you're delivering to until after you've said I'm on my way. And okay, if anybody knows Toronto, this is where I am. I'm in Toronto, and I'm doing the store that I'm at is in the East Scarborough area location. Which was fine. I was actually not too far away from myself, from where I was, where I'm staying, and then it gave the address. I was dumbfounded. It was addressed all the way almost downtown Toronto. That's not downtown Toronto, but it was like it was about half an hour away, almost 45 minutes away to get to this location, and waving around all over the place. And of course there's streets that go only one direction, so you have to, and maybe if I'd done this up in a different area or something, which I'm going to test out doing a different area, but apparently if you go with Toronto, you're going to go from Scarborough all the way into like in East York, North York areas to deliver. And I just followed a GPS to get to the address, and that was fine. And I got there, and it wasn't even anywhere to park to deliver to this person, so I went on to a side street to park the car and get all the stuff in. I had one of those shopping carts, so I put the stuff into the shopping cart, and the house was just over to the next area there, and I delivered to that house, and they were really happy and everything. They got the order that they wanted, and that was great, and they were fairly friendly, and so I can say that. And so I got back into the car and drove again to another location. I'm just going to give you that one for right now, because I'm going to reserve my feelings about a lot of other ones. But I feel that that there's other Walmarts that were closer to where they live, and I don't know why that wasn't chosen for their delivery, because if it had been something, and if it was in the summer, for example, if it had been in the summer and it was something that was going to melt or something, it would have melted by the time I got there. We're in between obviously spring right now, and so we got in between weather. But if I had really hot weather, I don't know that items would be staying fresh or staying, would be thawed out by the time they received it. Anyway, so anyway, that's basically my encounter with doing this. I think that's my experience here with doing Instacart. I'm on the fence of what I feel about doing it. But I will reserve doing a follow-up at a later time, and I'm probably going to do a few more as I go on. And it's not a whole lot of money. You don't make a lot of money on it. So obviously you make them out for tips, and you make them out for delivery fees, and so that's all covered for you. And then you can do one of two things when you want to cash out. You can either cash out right away, which takes 60 cents, somewhere 50 cents to 60 cents off of the order, off the payment. Or you can wait until the following Thursday, and it will cash out for you, and you get the total amount. And I believe if you're cashing out right away, you actually only get the delivery fee. You don't get the tip fee. You actually have to wait till the following week to get the tip fee as well. So that's a little bit about Instacart. Hopefully that helps somebody out with getting to know how Instacart actually works. I just thought I'd sit down and do this video because of this experience, and I don't know if I'm going to do like a day in the life and take you with me and show you my Instacart experience. But so far, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about continuing to do it, but it will be a ongoing part of my channel, I guess, here to show you something else, showing you something. Well, there's a lot of other people that do Instacart videos on here, I know that. But this is my experience, and I'm allowed to share it. So hopefully you can give me a like and a subscribe, and hopefully my story is helpful to somebody. And if you need any information, or you have questions, or you want to talk about it, or give other people suggestions here, you can do that in the comments. And I'll do a follow-up on this very soon. Have a great day, everybody.